Marriage is an inviolable social institution. Wow. I mean, that is a seriously powerful statement from the state, isn't it? It treats marriage as so much more than just a simple contract. It's literally the ultimate foundation of society itself. Welcome to this explainer on Philippine family relations. Today, we're going to unpack exactly how the law views, builds, and fiercely protects the family unit.
Our main focus for this explainer is the Family Code of the Philippines. You can really think of these legal codes as the literal blueprint that constructs a family. Just like building a house, the state has incredibly strict rules on exactly how the foundation is laid, how the walls are maintained, and what legally happens when the structure starts to fracture.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the foundation of marriage, look at what happens when marriages break down, explore spousal property and foreign ties, define family and children, and finally wrap the whole thing up with support, home, and parental authority.
Starting right off with Part 1, the foundation of marriage.
Now, what's really interesting is how the law completely divides the building blocks of marriage into two totally different buckets. First, we have the essential requisites. This is the absolute, non-negotiable core of the foundation. Both parties must have the legal capacity to marry, meaning they're male and female, and they absolutely must give their consent freely. If either of these is missing, you're basically building a house on quicksand. Then we have the formal requisites. These are the necessary legal permits and ceremonies. You need the authority of the person actually solemnizing the marriage, a valid marriage license, and the ceremony itself in front of witnesses.
Moving right along to Part 2, when marriages break down.
So what happens if you're missing those essential or formal requisites we just talked about, or if the union straight up violates public policy? Well, the state considers the marriage void ab initio, which is just a legal way of saying from the very beginning. This covers a huge range of scenarios, like parties under 18, incestuous relationships, bigamy, or simply not having a marriage license. It even includes cases of psychological incapacity to comply with marital obligations. In a void marriage, legally speaking, the structure never actually existed. It was never successfully built.
Contrast that with voidable marriages. In these specific cases, the marriage is actually considered valid, but a severe defect existed right at the exact time of the wedding. We're talking about someone aged 18 to 21 getting married without parental consent, consent gained through fraud or intimidation, or an incurable sexually transmissible disease. In a voidable marriage, the house is still standing. The state fully recognizes it, at least until it's officially challenged and annulled by a court.
Then we have a third scenario, legal separation. The absolute crucial takeaway here is the difference in the effect. Legal separation provides a physical split for extreme, severe circumstances, things like repeated physical violence, drug addiction, or unjustified abandonment for over a year. The spouses are legally allowed to live completely apart, but, and this is a massive but, it does not sever the actual marriage bond. Neither party has the legal capacity to go out and remarry.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, spousal property and foreign ties.
Before you walk down the aisle, you totally have the option to sign a marriage settlement, a prenup. But if you don't, what happens? Well, under Philippine law, the automatic default is the absolute community of property. Basically, without a prior agreement, the exact moment you say, I do, you and your spouse enter into an absolute shared ownership of property. What's mine is yours, literally.
Now, Philippine law gets super fascinating when it handles international complexities, specifically mixed marriages. You see, the Philippines doesn't actually have a general divorce law, but there is a really crucial exception here. If a Filipino citizen marries a foreigner and that foreigner validly gets a divorce abroad that allows them to remarry, the law adjusts. In that specific scenario, the Filipino spouse also gains the legal capacity to remarry under Philippine law. It's a brilliant workaround designed to prevent a situation where the Filipino citizen is left legally stuck while their foreign ex is entirely free to move on.
Shifting gears a bit, let's look at Section 4, defining family and children.
The law is actually incredibly strict about categorizing a child's legal status, which is known as filiation, based entirely on the timing and circumstances of their birth. A child is legally considered legitimate if they're conceived or born during a valid marriage or through authorized artificial insemination. Conversely, illegitimate filiation applies to kids conceived and born outside of a valid legal marriage. And this isn't just a label. This legal status directly dictates really important rights, including financial support and inheritance.
Now, aside from natural filiation, family bonds are also obviously created through adoption. While the Family Code provides a baseline framework, I do want to quickly mention that the specific modern procedures for domestic adoption and the handling of foundlings are actually governed by newer, separate laws that update these foundations, which fall just a bit outside our main text for today.
We do have specific rules for inter-country adoption, though. If an expat or foreign national wants to adopt a child from the Philippines, they face some very strict numerical hurdles. The adopter has to be at least 27 years old, they must be a minimum of 16 years older than the child they want to adopt, and they must have an absolutely spotless criminal record with no convictions involving moral turpitude. The state is fiercely protective of who it allows to take a child completely out of its jurisdiction.
And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Support, Home, and Parental Authority.
So the crucial point here is that when the law mandates support between family members, it is absolutely not just talking about putting food on the table or handing over a little monthly allowance. Legally, support is incredibly comprehensive. It encompasses everything indispensable for sustenance: a dwelling, clothing, medical attendance, education, and even transportation. All of this, of course, is kept in proportion to what the family can actually afford.
And where exactly does the family reside? Well, in the family home. Under the law, the family home isn't just some warm, emotional concept. It is a highly protected, literal physical sanctuary. Legally speaking, it's the actual dwelling house where the family lives, right alongside the literal land it sits on. Because the state values the family unit so much, the general rule is that the family home is totally shielded from execution or a forced sale. Basically, creditors can't just swoop in and easily take it away. But there are a few very specific financial exceptions where that shield drops. Things like the non-payment of taxes, debts incurred before the home was legally constituted, mortgages on the premises, or debts owed to the actual laborers who built the home in the first place.
Finally, who actually runs the household? The law grants parental authority. The baseline is that the father and mother jointly exercise this authority over their unemancipated kids, guiding their moral, mental, and physical character together. But what happens in a tie? If the parents fundamentally disagree, the law actually specifies a tiebreaker. The father's decision automatically prevails, unless the mother goes to court and secures a contrary judicial order from a judge.
Wow, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, looking at the very strict blueprints the law provides for building, maintaining, and sometimes dissolving a family. But it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to consider. How does balancing these incredibly rigid legal frameworks with the deeply personal, unpredictable, and totally messy reality of human relationships actually shape the modern family? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you think about the intersection of love and the law. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.